Hi, Dr. Deb Hecker. Welcome back. In a previous video, I spoke of blaming one's partner as the number one obstacle to creating a successful post-divorce life. Trying to figure out what went wrong with your ex or soon-to-be ex and defining the ways they're responsible for what might be your post-divorce misery. It may be temporarily gratifying, but really not at all useful to help you to transition to a new life. Nor, by the way, is it productive for you to blame yourself. So, how do you move beyond the blame game? In a nutshell, it's all about personal responsibility and figuring out what you can do to develop your identity as a non-partnered person. That means really turning from the outside, blaming your partner, to self-reflection on the inside. It's about getting reacquainted with yourself, capital S. When you've been part of a couple for so long, it's very easy to get lost in the we and lose sight of yourself, your I. Let me give you a typical example of an interaction between a couple of mine who ultimately ended up getting divorced. But this is a very typical kind of interaction that reflects what I mean by the blame game. So, like many couples whose marriages end in divorce, Lenny and Karen were not very good at communicating and resolving their conflicts. So during one of our sessions, Lenny, who is a very engaging and charming person, but his anger can get very easily aroused. And Karen said something. They were having what started off as a satisfying conversation, and all of a sudden his button got pushed. And the next thing you know, a barrage of aggressive and offensive outbursts were being hurled at Karen. Karen's immediate reaction and her inclination was to attack back by hurling one insult after the other at Kenny, who she felt completely devalued by. Karen told me that she felt actually perfectly justified in blaming Kenny for her reaction because, after all, he started the attack. And in fact, later on, when people asked Karen why her marriage fell apart, her answer was always the same. Kenny had a bad temper and cannot manage his anger. So who's responsible for this particular conflict that I just spoke of? Well, the reality is they both are. And if Karen continues to blame Kenny for their marital problems, she's going to remain forever victimized and never gain the self-knowledge that would help her to improve her future interactions and relationships. So what does Karen have to do? In order to move beyond blaming Kenny for everything that went wrong and to improve herself post-divorce, she needs to take responsibility for the following issues. One, she has to learn to identify what sets her off and how not to overreact. In other words, understand her patterns of response. She needs to explore the origins of her conflict. In other words, why was she so hypersensitive to being yelled at? I mean, not that what Kenny was doing was right, but she overreacted. She needs to stop looking externally and blaming Kenny for things not going her way. And she needs to move beyond blame and concentrate on what she can do to create better outcomes. Finally, Karen needs to make a commitment to act differently, to behave differently. So what's the take-home message? Post-divorce, choose to move away from deciding who is at fault to emphasizing what you can do internally and interpersonally to respond more effectively. So if you wish to see more of my videos, please visit my website at drdeborahhecker.com or my YouTube channel at Dr. Deborah Hecker Counseling Services.